Om Namah Shivaya.
Good morning.
Om
Sadashivasamadhamam
Sadaशिवसमारम्भाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
Vande Guru
Vande Guru
Sahanavavatu
Bhavatu
Sahanavunaktu
Sahanatu
Sahaviriyam
Sahaviryam
Karvavahai
Paraviriyam
Karavavahai
Bhavate
Tejasvinavadhinastu
Namaste Om
Srinivadin
Shanti Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Om
Shanti
Shanti
Shanti.
Om Tat Sat Om Namah
Om Tat
Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we are on the 23rd sloka of the 18th chapter, which we will chant. Shri Bhagavan
Shri Bhagavan
Niyatam Sangarahitam
Niyatam
Sangarahitam
Ragadvesha Takritam
Ragadveshtakritam
Aphala Prepsuna Karma
Aphala Pritsuna Karma
Yattat Satvikam Uchyate.
Yatatvikam Uchyate.
Okay, I'm just muting all so that the recording is not disturbed. So, Tat Sadvikam Karma Uchyate. That karma is called Sadvikam. Yat Niyatam, which is mandated by scriptures, is obligatory. Sanga Rahitam, devoid of attachment, which is done without any raga. Kritam Araga Dveshataha. So, there should be no sangam. And araga, advesha, performed without raga and without dvesha. And also aphala prepsuna. Prepsuna is desiring. Aphala prepsuna, not desiring any result. Phala aprepsuna, not desiring any result. So this is the definition. Now, before we discuss, I just like to point out that in this verse, karma should be taken as the action itself, as the very action. While in verse number, I think 18 it was. Yeah, verse number 18, there we said karma is what? The object of the action. Karanam karma karteti, where karma is the object of the action. That difference should be kept in mind. So here karma, in this verse, karma means the actual action itself. And Krishna is defining three types of karma. So here he presents yoga as karma yoga as sattvika karma. Right. Again, note that the same concept is being presented in different ways. And if you remember, in the 18th sloka, he presented karma yoga as sattvika sannyasa. Correct. 18th sloka, we said it was sattvika sannyasa. Here he is presenting the same karma yoga in another language. He's saying it is sattvika karma. And niyatam is equal to nityam. Sangarahitam is asakti varditaha, which is the asakti varditaha, devoid of extreme attachment. So karma, which is mandated by the scriptures, which is done without attachment to the karma or its result. What is that? That is the definition of karma yoga. So it's a very important point here. Karma yoga means that the person who is doing the karma yogi, is not desperate for the result. And therefore, karma yoga cannot be said to be sakama karma, because sakama karma, by very definition, means karma done for the fulfillment of a kama, or desire. Therefore, karma yoga has to be karma which is free from the attachment to the result. Therefore, asakti varjitaha sangarahitam, which means asakti varjitaha. You should carefully note here that karma asakti varjitaha. It not only is it free from the attachment to the fruits of the karma, it is karma asakti varjitaha. It is free from excessive attachment to the karma itself. And why do we say that Sangarahitam here has to be taken as freedom from attachment to the karma itself? Because there is another word here, aphala prepsuna, which means you are free from the attachment to the phalam also, to the fruits of the karma also. And since we should not give the effect of repetition to Shastram, you have to take different meanings. And therefore, Sangarahitam is karma asakti varjitaha. Aphala prepsuna is karma phala asakti varjitaha. So that difference we should remember. And here it is worthwhile recalling that another sloka was there in the 12th chapter. Athaitadap shaktosi kartum madyogamashitaha sarva karma phala tyagam tatakuru yatatmavan. There Krishna said what? Even if you cannot do nishkama karma, if you are not qualified enough, if your mind is not strong enough to do nishkama karma, if you are not dispassionate enough to do karma without wanting a result, do the sakama karma, but convert that sakama karma into Ishvara prasadam. Right? You, whatever result comes, accept it as coming from Ishvara. And this is the compromised version. Right? And there was another pramanam for such compromised karma yoga. What is that? Yat karoshi dashnasi, yat juhoshi tadasi yat tavasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. 9th chapter. So, in several chapters, you will find that Krishna talks about a compromised version of karma yoga. Really speaking, karma yoga is nishkama karma. Right? Nitya karma without any attachment either to the karma or to the result. But for a beginner, that is not possible. So earlier Krishna says, you do the karma, which is actually kamya karma. You are not capable of doing nishkama karma, so you do kamya karma. But do it accepting that whatever you are doing is offering whatever you are doing to the Lord and accepting whatever is coming from the Lord as the result, even if it is fulfilling your desires. But remember, that is only a beginner's version, it's a compromised version. But really speaking, advanced students, advanced Vedantic students who have not yet come to Jnanam, that is not the point here, but for the purpose of this particular mantra, that is the point, because we are discussing Karma Yoga. Classical Karma Yoga is what? Nishkama Karma only. And that too, only mandated karma, only karma which is mandated in the scriptures. So Nitya Nishkama Karma, which we called in chapter 3, what? What would we call it? We used the word in chapter 3 for Nitya Nishkama Karma. Nobody remembers?
Vihita karma.
Panchamahayagya. Okay. We call it Panchamahayagya. And therefore, what you should do is reduce the karma. And that is the message here. Araga dveshata kritam. Which means raga prayuktena, dvesha prayuktena. That which is arising out of raga and arising out of dvesha, that you should not do. So karmas performed without raga and dvesha. Without raga and dvesha means what? Without any motive for worldly fruits. These alone are sattvic karma, right? And therefore, we have to understand it as karma done which is not dharma viruddha, which is not opposed to dharma, right? So Rajasika karma is what? You do Rajasika karma because you are not happy with the setup in the world. Whatever circumstances you are facing, you are not happy with that. And therefore, your motive is what? If I change the setup, then I will be happier. So you have one bedroom house, which you are not happy with. And therefore, you do what? You work hard. Nothing wrong, okay? Nothing wrong with this. We are just looking at the classification. So you are not happy with the one bedroom house. And what is your thought? If I have two bedrooms, I'll be happier, right? And therefore, I work hard, I make more money, and I buy a two-bedroom house. So what are you trying to do? You are saying, I'll be happier if I change the circumstances in which I find myself, right? That is, you are trying to, in other words, you're trying to change the world. The environment we're taking as world over here. And therefore, if you try to change the world for something to make you happy, that is Rajasika karma. Whereas Sattvika karma is what? It doesn't matter what the world is, right? My happiness is within me alone. Therefore, my happiness depends upon my transforming myself. That is the idea. And that is why karma yogis, a serious karma yogi does not have a problem with whatever environment he faces. Because his basic idea is only to transform himself. And therefore, aphala prepsuna kritam. Without a desire for karma phalam, you are doing the karma without the expectation of any external benefits. There is only one expectation of karma which is done without expectation of worldly benefits. That one expectation is what? Jnana yogyata prapti. So in this shloka, you see two components. No attachment to karma, no attachment to karma phalam. And yet sadvikam karma uchyate. Such an action which is free from attachment both to the karma phalam and to the karma itself. That is called sadvika karma. So I have the understanding that the problem is not with the others or with the world. The world or the others, including your wife, children, parents, they do not require any change. What change is required is inside me. And that is why no sakama karma need be done. Because you don't need to change the world. You don't need to change the people around you. But nishkama karma you should do. Because the change is required in your mind alone. And nishkama karma, what is the phala? Chitta shuddhi. It's very, very nice and profound verse. Now we look at the 24th verse. We will chant. Please unmute yourself. Yattu kame psuna karma
Yattu
Yattu
kame
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 suna
suna
karma
karma
sahankarena va punaha
sahankarena
ahankarena va
va
punah
punaha
kriyate bahulaayasam
Kriyate
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 bahulayasam
bahulayasam
tadrajasam udharatam
tadrajasam
Udharatam.
udratam.
so tat rajasam karma udharatam. That karma is said to be rajasika karma. Bahula yasam, which is full of effort, which is full of pain. Yat tu kriyate kama upsanaha, kame upsanaha, and done by, that karma is done by one who is seeking a result. Va punaha, and again, also by sahankarena, one who has got ahankara. So two things are there. One who seeks a result and one who has ahankara. These karma done by a person fulfilling these two conditions. That is called Rajasika karma. So these kind of definitions you don't find anywhere else. It's very, very important section. So look at the words. Yattu karma kriyate. The karma that is done by a person. Kame psunaha. Kamepsuna is karma, phala, prepsuna. The Shankara says, Kamepsuna, karma, phala, prepsuna, iti artaha. Which means what? Prepsunaha is attached. So karma, phala, prepsunaha, attached to the result of the karma. That is one condition. The next condition is karma sa ahankarena, done along ahankara. So again, whenever we talk about ahankara, we have to remember ahankara has two meanings. Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastram is what is ahankara? It is a undesirable arrogance, a superiority complex. That is undesirable arrogance, right? And the idea that, I am better than you. So that is Dharma Shastra ahankara. And there is a Vedantic Shastra ahankara, which is what? With the understanding that aham karta is, I am the karta. And Krishna does not talk about which ahankara it is. So Shankara says, don't take the meaning of Vedanta Shastra ahankara. Why? Because Karma Yogi has anyway got aham karta bhava. Is it not? Why does he have aham karta bhava?
He does identify with the body mind sense complex while doing the karma.
Correct. Because he has not got jnana. That's why he's Karma Yogi. So doesn't matter whether karma is sattvika karma or rajasika karma or tamasika karma. This Karma Yogi has got aham karta bhava. And therefore, why should Krishna repeat? So Shankara says, don't take the meaning of Vedanta Shastra. Okay. Then there is a question. But this ahankarta attitude, bhava, this karma yogi will have whether it is sattvika, rajasika, or tamasika, is it not? Because he is the one doing, he doesn't have jnanam. So he knows I am karta. And it doesn't matter what kind of karma it is. So the Purva Pakshi stands up and says, in that case, why should Krishna use the word sahankarena only for rajasika karma? Does it not mean that satvika karma is free from ahankara? What is the answer? If you use the term ahankara in the sense of freedom from ahamkarta bhava, that will mean that one who does satvika karma is a jnani, which is not correct in contextually because we are talking about karma yoga only. Therefore, Shankara says you use the word ahankara in the Dharma Shastram sense only, not in the Vedantic sense, not in the I am the karta sense, but in the sense of a person having undesirable amount of pride, having arrogance. So, the one who does sattvika karma is not arrogant. He is a humble person. And therefore, Krishna uses the word ahankara here to mean that undesirable dharma shastra meaning. And therefore, the one who does rajasika karma, he has got a lot of undesirable pride and arrogance. So that is the meaning. What is the next? Bahula yasam kriyate. So yasaha is the effort. So mahata ayasena with lot of effort. So this karma has a lot of effort, mental stress, mental strain, and this can arise in three ways. There are people who have strain, have tension, but they have learned to mask. So the executive you meet in a business meeting who is under a lot of pressure to meet his targets, he will smile at you and he will laugh at you and then talk to you. But it's all artificial because behind that pressure, behind that artificial smile, there's a lot of tension. So he pretends to be a relaxed person, but he is not. So one is masking. Then this pressure is handled how? The first way is by masking. The second way, of course, everybody knows that you cannot handle the tension, so you're highly irritable. they're short-tempered, you shout at everybody. That's the second way of handling. The third way of handling is you can't shout at your family members because they will shout back at you, right? And you are not able to smile and look at it. So what do? You wreck your health. You smoke and drink and you spoil your own health. So in any of these three cases, where is the question of a person having sufficient chitta shuddhi or quietude of mind to come to Shastram? It is not. Okay. Then, tat rajasam karma udartam. Such karma, fulfilling these definitions, is called a rajasic karma. And va punaha, now there is a grammatical discussion on this. Va can mean and punaha can also mean and. Both are conjunctions, right? Why should two conjunctions be used here? So Purvapakshi says that you cannot say that both mean the same. So one is got to be given a different meaning. So you can't say there are two ands. And Shankara steps in and says, no. This punaha shabdaha, he says very nicely, he adds, pada puranartham is only to complete the chanda of the verse. You should not take the word punaha as having any real meaning. So whether you use the word punaha or not, the meaning of the shloka will not change. So Shankara's, focus on the detail is something which all be aware of. That kind of detail you should have, mind for such detail you should have when we study Shastra. So we look at the 25th sloka. Please unmute yourself. Anubandham Shayam Himsa
Anubandham
क्षयं सा
Anaveksha Cha Paurusham
अनपेक्ष्य च पौरुषम्
Mohadarabhyate Karma
मोहादारभ्यते कर्म
Yattattamasamuchyate.
तत्तामसमुच्यते
So having defined Sattvika and Rajasika, he now comes to Tamasika. Says Tat Tamasam Karma Uchyate. That karma is said to be Tamasika. Yat Mohat Arabhyate. That karma which is done because of delusion and Anubandham Anaveksha. Without considering the consequences of the karma, which can be kshayam, loss, himsam, harm to others, violence, and paurusham. Paurusham here means the capacity of the person doing the karma to do it, whether he has considered it or not. So effectively, you are saying that any action done without the analyzing the pros and cons is tamasika karma. And here we should draw a distinction which we have always talked about. There is a distinction between planning and worry. So planning for the future is deliberate action. Worrying for the future is involuntary action. Both have different consequences. Planning results in efficiency. Worrying results in your mind not being completely available to you to do the karma. Therefore, it is a deficiency. So planning is sattvika karma, intelligent karma. Worrying is totally unproductive. Therefore, he talks about the four factors which should be taken into account before starting any karma. What are they? Anubandham. So, Anubandham is the consequence. Whatever comes later as a karma phalam, that is the consequence of the action, especially the negative phalams. You should consider. Right? Now, if your boss shouts at you, you should not shout back. But that's because there are negative consequences. Correct. But if your husband shouts at you, you can easily throw a plate at him. This consequence is not too much. So all these sort of Thinking should go in before you start a karma. So anubandham, without considering the consequences, the anaveksha has to be added here. Anaveksha anubandham, without considering the consequences of the karma, whatever karma is done, that karma is tamasika karma. Kshayam, yasmin karmani kriyamane shakti shaya hai arthakshaya ho vasya. That is the definition that Shankaracharya gives. Kshayam means yasmin karmani kriyamane shakti shayaha arthashayaha vasya. What does it mean? When doing the karma, shayam, consider what is the effect on my health or on my. Shayam literally means depletion, something becoming less. Will that karma affect your health by destroying it? Will that karma affect your economic resources by destroying it? Will that karma affect relationships by destroying it? Whatever impact the karma is going to have, you should consider. But shayam, that is the meaning of the word shayam. And anaveksha shayam means done without considering this particular aspect. Not only that, himsam. Himsam means the harm, the violence done to other living beings. What is the harm done not only living beings, to society, environment, everywhere? So when I do the karma, what is the harm done to family members, friends, relatives, society in general, nation, environment, everything I need to consider. If I don't, anaveksha himsam, tamasika karma. And paurusham here means the individual capacity. It can be either mean your willpower or your physical capacity or your economic capacity. Do you have the confidence that any of these resources, your physical strength, your willpower, your money, all this will be there. All this will be retained sufficiently to complete the job. And if you have not considered that, then anaveksha paurusham, it is tamasika karma. And yet karma mohat arabhyate. So as he says, such karma which is begun out of not considering all these factors, or the moha here has to be taken as avivekaha, without the discrimination necessary, without having considered all the pros and cons. If you do that, tat tamasam karma uchyate. That is called tamasika karma. Right. Now, Krishna talks about three types of kartas, right? The one who does sattvika karma is what? A sattvika karta. The one who does rajasika karma is a rajasika karta. And therefore, further discussion need not have been done. But Krishna deliberately repeats that because sattvika karma means karma yogi, and karma yoga is very important. Why? Because a lot of problems like fear, anxiety can be solved by karma yoga itself. What about Jnana Yoga? What does it solve? So Jnana Yoga solves only the Ajnanam problem. Ajnanam problem is what? Adhyasa. And therefore Krishna here says that it is important to talk about Sattvika Karta because Jnana Yoga can solve only Ajnanam. But the emotions in your mind which can obstruct your coming to Jnanam, that can be sorted out by Karma Yoga itself. So we look at verse number 26. We will chant Mukta Sango Nahamvadi.
Mukta Sango
Muktasango Nahanvadi
Dhrityutsaha Samanvitaha
Nrityutsahasamanitamah
Siddha Siddhayor Nirvikaraha
Siddhya
सिद्ध्या सिद्ध्यो निर्विकारः
कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
So now he talks about Satvika Karta, even though he has already defined Satvika Karma. So Satvika Karta Uchyate, that person is said to be a Satvika Karta. Mukta Sangaha, free from attachment. Anahamvadi, he is free from Ahamvadi, free from egoism. And the other word you break up. Dhriti, Utsaha, Samanvitaha. Samanvitaha means possessed of, endowed with. Dhriti and Utsaha. Utsaha is enthusiasm. Dhriti is willpower. Not only that, Nirvikaraha, he should be unchanged. He should have the same attitude. Siddhaha asiddhayoho, in success or failure. Okay. So, Satvika Karta Uchyate, that person is said to be a Satvika Karta. Mukta Sangaha, he uses karma, but is not attached to karma. So, karma is useful for what? For the attainment of Chitta Shuddhi. Now, after the attainment of Chitta Shuddhi, remember, there is a view of Shastra that karma should be predominant in your life only till the attainment of Chitta Shuddhi. Because after the attainment of this mental purity, karma will become an obstacle. Why? Karma always makes you extroverted. An extroverted person will not have the introverted mind necessary to come to Shastra. And whenever you do karma, it invokes your kartrutvam. So kartrutvam is reinforced. That I am the karta is reinforced, while jnanam says you are akarta. So mukta sangaha means free from ragadvesha. He said that, right? Is anybody really free from ragadvesha? Because Krishna himself has said, indriyasyarthe raga dvaisho vyavasthitau. Everyone has got ragadvesha. What is the answer? When you say mukta sangaha, because Krishna has said that you cannot be really free from raga dvesha.
Kartritvam again. There is no kartritvam. The actions will be there.
We are saying about raga dvesha. Mukta sang kartrutvam we have talked about in the previous words. Here we are talking mukta sangha, mukta raga dvesha.
Not attached to the results of action. The karma phalam.
Which means you convert the raga dvesha. You cannot get rid of raga dvesha. Krishna has said that because you got a mind. Right? You convert into non-binding ones.
Preferences.
Non-binding.
Don't have preferences. So, like for example, everybody has the preference that in the last days of his life, he should not be bedridden. He should not be in the ICU. But if your prarabdha makes that happen, then it should not be binding. It should not be so unhappy that you resent it every single day. Right? So you will accept whatever happens. That is the meaning of that. Then anahamvadi. Anahamvadi is the one who keeps the ahamkara away. Attainment. Remember that any attachment, any raga to your family, to your status in society, to your position as president of the company, all this will ultimately manifest as obstacles to jnana. Therefore, karma yogi avoids the ahankara, ahamvadaha, which means ahankara. How he hands whatever good he does, he doesn't take the credit. He hands over the credit to Bhagavan. So he never claims success. He doesn't say, I did it. So mamakara is not there. Okay. Then dhriti, utsaha, samanvitaha. Dhriti means the perseverance, the capacity to try again and again and again. One who is not dampened by failure. The one who repeatedly comes to Jnanam in spite of not understanding first few times. Now, Utsaha. So I said enthusiasm because that is the normal meaning of enthusiasm. In most Indian languages, including Hindi, Utsaha is what? Enthusiasm. Right? But the meaning is really Udyamaha. Shankara says, don't take it as enthusiasm. Take it as Udyamaha. Udyamaha is not a very common word, but the translation is Shrama. What is Shrama?
Hard work. Effort.
Hard work and effort. Therefore, Utsaha here is not enthusiasm, but it is effort. And he should be endowed with both these qualities. What are they? One is that Triti, he will not be easily discouraged. Another is that he should be continuing to make the efforts in spite of failure once or twice or thrice. And if he does that, then Siddha Siddhyo Nirvikaraha means he enjoys a balanced mind, whatever be the consequence of the karma. Whether he is successful or whether he is a failure, he is Nirvikaraha. Right? Because Krishna already said, Karmaniva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Do not consider that you are the architect of your phala. Success or failure depends not on the action alone, also on the Lord's grace, also on prarabdha, which is not in your hands at all. Therefore, train the mind to be undisturbed, whatever is the karma phala. Remember that Krishna is not saying don't have emotions. Don't be disappointed when something doesn't go your way, or don't be excessively happy when something goes your way. What he's saying is that you have your emotions, but don't allow those emotions to overpower your discrimination. How do you do that? Remember, this is a summary. If you do not know how to not let the emotions overpower your thinking capacity, what should you do?
Detachment.
You should go back to chapter 3 and start all over again. What did we say in chapter 3? Ishvara Arpana Bhavana, Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. Therefore, the Sattva Karta is a person who is a Bhakta. Because Karma Yoga presupposes that the Lord is there in your life. And therefore, all your actions are only according to Dharma and not for the purpose of fulfilling Raga. So remember, we are not talking about a Jnani. We are talking about a Ajnani Karta who is doing karma with the I am a Karta attitude, but he is doing his karma only according to the injunctions of Shastra and not purely for fulfilling his desires. Such a karta sattvika uchyate. So all very nice summaries. We have done all these actually. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
One point here. It was told that Utsaha,
Yeah.
Samanvita. So Utsaha is interpreted as efforts here.
Yes.
Is it because in Utsaha word, there is an element of expectation of a fruit of action?
It could be if Utsaha basically means enthusiasm. Right?
Yeah.
So really speaking, if you combine this and the previous word, you are continuing, Dhriti is there and Utsaha is there. So Dhriti means the capacity to continue an action in spite of disappointment. That Utsaha has to combine there. So you are still enthusiastic in spite of having got disappointment. And therefore you continue your efforts. That is why they have taken this as efforts. Efforts in spite of disappointments.
Failures.
And of course, it means that your mind is not disturbed.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, now the 27th verse. Ragi karma phala prepsuhu.
Ragi karma phala
Adi karma phala
prepsuhu.
prepsuhu.
Lupto hinsatmako shuchihi.
Lubdho
Hinsatmako shuchihi.
Hinsatmako shuchihi.
Harsha shokanvita karta.
Harsha
Harsha
shokanvita
Anvita
karta.
karta.
Rajasah parikirtitaha.
Rajasah
Rajasa
parikirtitaha.
parikirtitaha.
So karta rajasaha parikirtitaha. He is known as a rajasika karta. Who is ragi? He's got attachment. Who is karma phala prepsahu? Who wants the results of the actions. Who is lubdha? Who is greedy. Who is hinsatmakaha? Whose nature it is to harm other people. Who is ashuchihi? Impure. And who is harsha shoka anvitaha? Who is subject to harsha, elation, great happiness, and shokaha, great depression. Right? So ragi, remember, is also a cereal, millet. It's very famous nowadays because you don't like wheat, so you want to eat ragi. Ragi. So therefore Shankara is worried. So obviously ragi was there in his time also. So Shankara writes in a commentary, ragi is to be taken as ragaha asya, one who has got raga. Don't take it as the cereal. Right? So very see the the detail which Shankara has. Should not consider it as a millet. Therefore, consider it as one who's got raga. Raga asya iti ragi. One who has got raga. So, a non-karma yogi, remember, whom we call karmi, is also got raga. He's attached to the all the material successes of life. And if you are attached, this is the case with 95% of people, right? There are very few karma yogis in this world. Only those who have come to value karma yoga, they only will be karma yogis. 95% of people will say, why should I be a karma yogi? Because why should I do any work if I don't benefit from its success? But what is the problem? The external success is not a certainty. And therefore, once you do your karma, you think you are responsible for karma phalam. And therefore, you are responsible for possible failures. And therefore, there is stress and strain. Such a karmi, such a person is a rajasika karta, ragi, one who has attached to the success or the failure of his actions. And therefore, only karma phala prepsuhu. He is worried about the karma phala, the material benefits. And lubdaha, he is thirsty for the wealth because the wealth is what he'll get from his actions. And Shankara adds, this person does not spend any money of his own, even on occasions which are considered very, very spiritual, like Tirtha Yatra, Dhanam, etc. He doesn't spend money. And therefore, not only being thirsty for others is part of Lubdaha, but thirsty for the wealth of others or thirsty for wealth itself is one. The greed is there. The other is the reluctance to spend money which you already have. So there are two aspects of Lubdaha. One is greed and one is being a miser. Why? Because both of these ideas are based on one misconception that money or possessions will give me security. So Lubdaha, which is, you have to say both, greed and miserly. Then Hinsatmakaha. Hinsatmakaha is one who always gives pain to others. So Shankara writes, Para pidakara swabhavaha. Para to others, pidakaraha. He gives always pain. So he, in fact, need not be deliberately giving pain. Right? So, for example, supposing you are the person making tea in the house. A very simple example, okay, of a hinsatmaka. There's no violence involved in this. Supposing you are making tea in the morning, right? And let us say your husband, for the sake of this discussion. You can be the wife also. Let us say you're the husband. You are making tea in the morning, and then afterwards you will wake up your wife and children and give them the tea. Okay, very nice, very noble objective, so that they don't have to wake up in the morning. Do you consider what kind of tea my wife likes, what kind of tea my child likes, or do you only take your own taste into account? You hardly think that is called hinsatmaka, right? But it is. Because that nature of yours, of not having considered the well being of others, has given some amount of distress. They may not say. Or another simple thing. I am sitting with my family in front of the TV. Do I put on only my TV show, or do I ask the others, what kind of movie would you like to see? So, a good idea here is that, the purpose of family life is not to give you just to give you happiness and just have children. It is to reduce the hold of raga and dvesha. And that is why in a family, it is mandatory for the person or one person to put the other persons first. The wife should put the husband and children first. The husband should put the wife and children first. That reduces the grasp, the hold of ragadvesha, because you are doing things against your ragadvesha, which ultimately leads to what? Chitta Shuddhi only. So even marriage and family life is meant for Chitta Shuddhi. That is why your wife is called Ardhangani. She is there to complete your spiritual journey with you. Then Ashuchihi. Ashuchi means, Shankara says he is not clean, both internally and externally. Externally clean is, we all understand. Internal cleanliness means reducing asuri sampatti and increasing daivi sampatti. So that's Asuchi. Then Harsha Shoka Anvitaha. So Shankara writes a very nice line. Ishta Praptau Harshaha. When you get something that you like, you are elated. You jump up and down. Anishta Praptaho Ishta Viyogaha Chashokaha. Anishta Praptaho is when you get something that you don't like. Or also Ishta Viyogaha. When you don't get something that you like, then what happens? Shoka. You go into depression. So this kind of person whose mind is a regular pendulum. It goes up and down. Even the smallest question can make him shout at you. Such a person, Harsha, Shoka, Anvitaha. And a karta who has these 6 weaknesses. What are the 6? Ragi, Lubdaha, Karma Phalu Prepsuhu, Himsatmakaha, Suchihi, Harsha, Shoka, Anvitaha. What is he? Karta, Rajasaha, Parikirtitaha is said to be a Rajasika karma. Okay. And if if you are going to get married, then you should remember or if you're already married and your partner, you should remember there is a book called Niti Shatakam. Have you heard of it? Niti Shatakam. The 100 verses on Niti. It's written by
Bhartruhari?
Bhartrhari. Very good.
Yes.
Right. It's a very, very beautiful book. And there is a particular verse. Prinati yaha sucharitaihi pitaram saputrau. Yad bhartureva hitam ichhati tat kalatram tan mitrapadi sukhecha samakriyam. Yadetat jagati punyakrato labhante. Very beautiful little verse. Let me explain. Prinati yaha sucharitaihi pitaram saputrau. The person who makes his father happy with his good behavior, only he can be called a son. Yet bhartureva hitam ichhati. The one who wishes, who is a well-wisher of our husband, or you can add wife also, but here it is husband. The one who is a well-wisher of the husband, hitam ichhati, tat kalatram. She alone is a wife. Then mitram apadi sukhe, the person who remains samakriyam, unchanged in times of happiness or sorrow. That person alone is a mitra, a friend. And what about a person who has all these three? Yadeta trayam jagati punyakalo lavate. The person who has all the three, he has done sufficient punya karma. Then only can he obtain these three. Okay, so this, of course, is not related to the verse at all. I just knew the verse, so I thought I would tell you. So we have 10 minutes. We can look at the next verse, the 28th verse. Ayukta prakrata stabdaha.
Ayuktah
Ayukta
Prakritasthabdaha
Shato naishkritiko lasaha.
Shato
Shato
naishkritiko lasaha.
Nishkritiko lasaha
Vishadi dirda sutri cha.
Vishadi Dirghasutri cha
Karta tamasa uchyate.
Karta tamasa uchyate.
Tamasa Uchate
Tamasa karta uchyate. That person is a tamasika karta. Who is what all? Ayuktaha, without discipline. Prakrataha, without culture. Skabdaha, arrogant. Shatva, deceptive. Naishkritikaha, harmful to others. Alasaha, lazy. Vishadi, depressed. Dirda Sutri. Dirda Sutri is a nice word. It means one who doesn't do his jobs in time. A person who procrastinates. So Ayuktaha, Shankara says, Na Yuktaha. One who is Asamahitaha. One who does not have an integrated personality. Which means what? He has no restraint in his activity or in his words or in his thoughts. He gets up when he wants. He eats what he wants. He says what he wants. And he says, this is my life. Nobody should get in my way. Do you know anybody like this? If you don't, then you're very lucky. But most of us, we know people like this, okay? And prakrataha. Prakrataha means atyanta asamskrita buddhi. The one whose mind is extremely unrefined. Prakrataha is born from Prakriti. As born from Prakriti, defined solely by gunas, ragadvesha, not having come to Shastram at all. So he does exactly what he wants. Like when he's angry, he speaks words which should not be spoken. And Shankara has mentioned anywhere, such a person can disrespect even his mother and his guru. And even though he's adult, Shankara says his reactions are like a child, without thought, without restraint. Then the next one is Stambaha. Stambaha means, and Shankara writes very nicely, Dandavat Namati. Danda is a stick. Namati is giving namaskara, bending. So he says, this one person, Stabda person, he is like a stick. He is absolutely straight. He doesn't bend to anybody. He doesn't prostrate to anybody. He doesn't do namaskara to anybody, including Ishvara. So he is like a stick, arrogant. And we all know that Dharma Shastra must prescribe appropriate behavior for us. How you should behave with your parents, how you should behave with your guru, how you should behave with your friends, how you should behave with your family members. All has been prescribed. He doesn't adhere to any of those prescriptions. Then Shataha. Shataha, Shankara says, he hides the truth. This person is deceiving. He hides the truth. Always you will find whatever he does, maybe you won't see it at that time, but there's always a hidden agenda. His expression is always different from motive. There is a strain between his words, his actions, and his thoughts. It's a very great disadvantage for spiritual growth because of this tremendous internal strain. Then Naishkritakaha. Naishkritakaha is a person who is harmful to others. So he doesn't care about other people. If in pursuit of his own goals, he has to harm them, that is perfectly fine. Right? And Alasaha. Alasaha is a person who is the habit of doing nothing. So Shankar writes, Apravarti Shilaha. Apravarti means doing nothing, no activity. Shilaha is the habit. So Apravarti Shilaha, the one who is in the habit of doing nothing. And we have seen elsewhere, Alasyam hi manushyanam sharirasto mahan ripu. The Alasyam hi manushyanam, the body's laziness is the biggest enemy for a person. And since he is so lazy, there is an advantage. What is that? He does not do Nishadha karma also. But of course, he does not do Kama karma. He does not do Prayaschitta karma. He does not avoid doing any sort of karma, including Nitya karma. And if you tell him, why don't you go and do some karma? He says the rituals, they're all rituals, useless, absolutely, worthless. This karma kanda has no sense. He doesn't realize that rituals are very important for developing sattva. Rituals are prescribed to convert us from tamas to rajas to sattva. That he doesn't know. And Vishadi. Vishadi means he is totally gloomy. Always he is depressed. And therefore we say that when you go to a person who is very, very depressed, don't give him jnana. Ask him to do something. Take him for a walk. Take him for a run. Do some exercise. Because rajas breaks depression. A tamasic person who is subject to rajas, or subject to depression, the only way you can make him break that strain of depression is to get him doing something. The mind gets depressed, but when you are busy with something else, the thoughts are not on a depression. So it breaks the strain of depression. Then Dhirda Sutri. Dhirda Sutri, Shankara writes very beautifully, means that he will say, what is to be done today, I will do tomorrow. What is to be done tomorrow, I will do day after. What is to be done day after, I will do after 1 month. Anything you ask him, he will say, I will do it later. Right? Such a person, how do you make him want to do something? You have to analyze him to see what is it that he really wants. So even if it is very strong worldly desire, let him do that activity. Such a person is Sakarta Tamasaha Uchyate. A person who has all these undesirable qualities is a Tamasika Karta. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? We have finished the Karta discussion. Now we will go upon the Buddhi discussion from the next verse. What kind of Buddhi is there? Three divisions of intellect are also given, which we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam
Purnamidam
Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnamudachyate
Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya
Purnamadaya
Purnamevavashishyate
Purnamevavashishyate
Om
Om
Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Shanti.
Shanti Om Tat Sat.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Thank you.